know what? I am going to have to switch. Let me just ask Molly to give me a heads up if she can hear my volume now. Molly, let me know if you can hear me now. If anybody can hear me now, much better. Oh, good. Thanks, Malls. Okay. This is this is we're coming out with a new training class starting in January, and it's going to be a 6-month program. It's going to be the most intensive. It's how to build your multifamily business and buy your first property in the first half of 2025. And it's all new material. I'm revamping everything that I've done. It's going to be incredibly intense. It's kind of like the due diligence class that I did several years back, where I taught it over a weekend at a hotel ballroom type of thing, and it was just not even worth. It was so boring. I got so bored with it because this subject matter was so dry that I actually just recorded it and made it a class, because it was best thing out there is this due diligence program. So that was what I did in the past. Now, I've been teaching multifamily transactional law and how to own 1,000 apartments in 5 years, probably for the last 17 years. And it has been it's been great. I love it. It's my thing. It's my go-to. I'm a lawyer, but I also do this. So what we're going to do starting in January is hold classes. If you want to find out more information about the program, just shoot us an email, and we'll make sure that you get the information. It's going to be, obviously, we're going to have limited to the number of people because it's going to start on a particular date. And once we start. And the next time we get in is in 6 months. So that's what we're going to have. But this discussion that we have should give you an idea of the type of classes that we're going to be teaching. And this one's a deal structure and raising private money. And this is the one that people just listen to. It scares them the most, and I can understand why. I mean, you're asking people for money, and a lot of people find that very uncomfortable. But it really takes a certain process for you to do it right and make sure that you're building your business the right way. You have to be always asking people for money in this business. If you're looking to syndicate deals, you need to be looking for money as often as you are looking for deals. And if all you're doing is looking for deals, then you know what? You're never going to close any deals, because you need to be asking for money as well. And you have to understand how to do it. And we're going to get into that and show you how to make it a lot easier, where people are giving you money as opposed to you asking them for money. You want to chum the waters and bring them along in your journey, as opposed to knocking on doors and asking the person for money. And some people don't get that. They see it as being essentially that you're the Electrolux salesperson if you have not been cultivating your market, your money markets, and bringing and getting these people ready to write you a check. So, all right. First thing, there's 2 parts to this conversation. First part is in deal structuring. All right. So, and this one kind of threw me for a loop, because when I first got started in this business, teaching this business, I was always amazed at how many people didn't quite understand, well, how do you figure out how much your investors should get? Okay, let's back up a bit. You hear me say it all the time, that this is a sales and marketing business. And part of the sale, one of the first sales you have to make, obviously, is to the seller of the property. You have to convince him to buy your offer. And then you go looking for money. Now you have to convince these potential investors to buy your property. So you're in sales several different ways throughout every transaction. And what you need to do is, when you're going out there to raise money, you have to ask yourself the question, what's it going to take to get my investors to say yes to this deal? Well, the only way that you can answer that question is if you done your legwork and your homework ahead of time, and you had a little private conversation with everyone on your investor list and said, What's it going to take to get you into my deal? What type of returns? What type of time frame? Understand what the flavor of their money is. And then once you do that, you build up a database of all those, types of people and when they're coming on board. And that way, when it comes time to structure the deal, hey, if I structure the deal this way, I know these 10 people will invest with me. Okay, so now you know what you need to make the deal look like. So when you look at a particular deal and you look at it and you make an offer at the particular price, you should be able to tell from your software, whatever software you're using. We use Analyzer Pro. We used Rent. Oh gosh, I can't even remember what the name of rentalsoftware.com before. But what you do is you put all the numbers in and it spits out a number. It tells you that this particular property should, at this price and at these terms, lending terms, generate a cash on cash return of 10% and an internal rate of return of 22% in year 5. All right. For those of you that don't understand the difference between the cash on cash return is the amount of money the property generates on an annual basis. If you put in $100,000 and you get a distribution of $10,000, that's a 10% cash on cash return. But that's not how we get paid in this business. We get paid in this business 5 different ways. Not all are going to apply to a deal structuring. So I'm not going to talk about property management. I'm not going to talk about acquisition fees. I'm just going to talk about what goes to making up the IRR. Because if I just counted the cash on cash return, that 10% that you got at the end of a year, I'm not giving you the benefit of mortgage pay down on an amortizing note. So that's money that you're going to get back, or the appreciation of the property. So these are the things that once the property sells, you're going to realize that money, and it all gets thrown into this big pool. And that's how we calculate the internal rate of return. And that's how we come up with like the 20% annual internal rate of return. So when you sit down with your investors, you're going to ask them, what type of cash on cash return would you like? I'd like a conservative 6% return. Okay, great, 6%. Let me write that down. So you write down 6%, and you go back to your drawing board and you look at this particular deal and you put it into your analyzer and it spits out a 10% cash on cash return. So if the property is showing 10%, how much of the deal do I have to sell off in order to get that person their 6% return? 60%. So that means when I go to structure the deal, I'm keeping 40 and I'm selling off 60, so that everybody is going to get 6% cash on cash return. If it's a 10% and these people want 8, well, then you're only going to keep 20%. You see how that works? This is a very, very simple this is a type of deal structure that's on training wheels, because then you can start getting into deals that really get into very creative structures, different types of waterfalls, meaning like, okay, we'll pay you 8% of the first, 10%. And once you hit 8%, then we're going to, kick it up to 10%. You can get all this type of creative. And the whole reason you're doing it is to entice that buyer, that investor to come into your program, into your investment. So that's why you have to always understand what your market is and what it's going to take to get these guys to say yes. One of the things that we're going to be teaching in the class is you're going to look at one of my PPMs. You're going to look at, see what we presented to an investor group to raise $2 million. So we'll go through it so you can understand. Now, you might be thinking, so PPM, what's that? Okay. You heard me just talk about how to determine how much of a deal you can sell off. All right. Now, the problem is that you need to raise X number of dollars. So, okay, in this particular deal, I need to raise $1 million. So in order to raise $1 million, I'm going to sell off 60% of my deal, and I'm going to keep 40%. So now you know that $1 million you raise, somebody purchased 60% of your business. That's the way I need to think about it. They purchased 60% of your business. Your business is expected to generate a 10% 10% cash on cash return. So 60% of that 10% goes to these people. You get the rest. All right. That's the bare bones. Trying to keep it very simple for you here. All right. Now, before you get to that point, you want to ask yourself, well, do I have to sell off 60%? What if I just structured a note and I borrowed the money from someone? You know, I see people doing this all the time, especially new in the business, because they don't quite understand what happens when you structure a note. Difference between note and equity is that the note has to be paid back. And typically a note is drafted in such a way that it has foreclosure rights. And if it has foreclosure rights, that means that if you don't pay, somebody else can own that property. So it's kind of risky and expensive. And it puts a huge burden on the property, one that you probably don't want to do. So that's why we look at equity. Equity is pretty risky, and that's why it gives better returns. See, with that debt, we're only paying the interest rate. That's the most we're ever going to pay. On the equity, we pay like almost a 20% internal rate of return. That means as the property goes up in value, that guy who bought equity in your company, he benefits that way. Somebody that gives you a note doesn't benefit that way. All right, so you got to make the decision. Can I do it as a note? Do I want to? Can I do it as equity? And if it's equity, then you're dealing with other sets of laws. You're dealing with the Security and Exchange Commission. You're dealing with accredited investors, non-accredited investors. Now we use, and I'm going to have them on my class teaching, we use crowdfundinglawyers.com, Nate Dodson and Richard Robinette. Great guys. And for those of you, his name is Robinette. I'll do a little trivia question here. Who else has the name Robinette? Robinette. Type it into the comment box and you'll win a prize. I don't know what it is. All right, hold on. I turned the heat on in this office and now it's stifling, so I'm going to open the door. All right, so we're looking at equity. Now, some people say like, well, I don't want to have to go and pay a securities attorney to do this. And, I don't want to, carpe diem, be honest. Did you Google that? Be honest. You're among friends here. That's the right answer. Joseph Robinette Biden. It's what I said when Richard came and spoke at our conference down in, I can't remember where we were, maybe Chicago. He said, is this Richard Robinette? I said, any relation? And he didn't know what I meant. And I told him Biden. They go, oh, no. Oh, hey, Ross. Yeah. Hey, no, Ross. No, you didn't. Okay. Hey, Ross. Because Ross Williams is a Biden fan. I'm kidding you. I don't know. All right. So here's a problem is if you start to do raising equity, then the thing about that is you do need to follow the federal laws. And you really do need to determine which type of exemption you're using and how you're going about raising the money. You never want the SEC breathing down your back. Trust me, I know. That SEC sued my wife and me back in 2010. It was to this day, it's still, it still is an issue. It was terrible. And, I'll tell you more about it as time goes on. I actually tell everybody about it. I think I had it on my Dobbins Law website, a whole explanation as to what happened, but I don't, guys, I didn't even do anything wrong. And I got dragged in this lawsuit. And it's just impacted me personally, financially, professionally for the last 14 years. And that's why I'm telling you now, you don't want to mess around with the SEC. They're idiots. they are your typical government idiots, okay? And you just don't even want to play any games with them. Let me get my microphone down. But then people say, well, I'm just raising money among my friends and family. I said, yeah, I get it, but the SEC doesn't care. As far as they're concerned, you don't have any friends and you don't have any family. So you have to cross the T's and dot the I's. And here's why. And this might, you might understand this more when I explain it to you. And that is, one guy said to me, yeah, but my brother's going to be my partner. I'm just, I don't need to go and, file a SEC filing or anything. I know you probably don't. You can get away with it. But as an attorney, I can't advise you to break the law. So what I say to you is, sure, go ahead, give it a try. And chances are very good that you're not going to have a problem. The problem you're going to have will never be with your brother. The problem that you will have will be with your brother's widow's next husband, who never really liked you and wants money out of the deal and says, hey, we're going to sue you. Well, no, you can't sue me when everything's going fine. Yeah, but you didn't cross your T's and dot your I's. And this is an illegal security. So we're going to report you to the Securities and Exchange Commission. Ugh. All right. So there's my legal advice to you. I can't tell you to do it, make you do it, but I have to tell you what the law is. Okay. So we've got this. We've got the SEC. That the whole bunch of documents that crowdfunding lawyers drafts for you. I'll show you those documents in the class. So now you're out there raising the money and you're knocking on doors and you've got the deal structured and you figured out you structured this deal in such a way that people are going to be lining up at your door to pay you money. All right. So now that is settled and you're raising the money, but there's one part that I missed that I really need to talk about. And that is what type of entity you are going to structure this in. And what I mean by entity is it a corporation? Is it a limited liability company? Is it a partnership? Is it a sole proprietorship? Limited partnership, general partnership, joint venture partnership. All of these different choices you have will all impact how you're raising the money. All right. So typically, and this is 100 times out of 100, the deals that I've structured have been limited liability companies. Now, when I was in law school, we didn't even have to study LLCs. They weren't even on the bar exam. They hadn't been invented yet. Well, actually, they had been invented, but I got licensed in Massachusetts. I took the bar exam in Massachusetts. Massachusetts didn't have LLCs back then. They came about later, and now they are everywhere. And there's a reason why they're everywhere. They're the easiest type of entity to structure. It's so simple. With a corporation, you've got a C Corp, you've got an S Corp. Well, if you get an S Corp, you can only have 35 investors. Anything more than that, you're not an S Corp anymore. LLC, they don't have those types of guidelines. But here's the difference. And this is where I'm going to teach you how to say things the right way, even though you never will. But I have to tell you how to say it. When you own a limited liability company, you don't own stock. You don't own a partnership share. You own a membership interest. You own a 35% membership interest. You own a 3% membership interest. You own a membership interest. And when you own a membership interest, you are a member. You're not a general partner. You're not a partner. You're not a limited partner. You are a member. Everyone that owns a membership interest is a member. Now, the beautiful thing about a limited liability company is you can set these things up, these memberships, into different categories that do different things. Like when we study the company that we put together for this deal that we're about to close, hopefully next week, when we put all of that together, we had ended up with 3 classes: Class A, Class B, Class C. And the way it worked was, and let me describe this to you just to show you how creative you can get when you're structuring your deal. Class A was me and all of my sweat equity partners, all of us who put the deal together, about 6 to 8 of us. We're Class A, and our membership gets treated a particular way. We get paid last. Class A members didn't put any money into the deal. Okay, Class A members did not put any money into the deal to be a Class A member. Every one of my partners put $50,000 into the deal. So we all have skin in the game. But when we put skin in the game, we didn't buy Class A memberships. We got those handed to us because that's how we structured the deal. Then along comes Class B. Now, Class B is a group of people that said, we're going to put up 15% of the deal. We're going to give you $1.5 million. But for that, we want to be treated a certain way. And we're going to be treated differently than Class A. And if you have any other people coming into the deal, you better set up a separate class for them, because we want to be the only people who get this deal. And we only needed to raise like $2 million. So here we have 75% of the money that we need to raise coming from one group. And yeah, we're going to give them a good deal. And so we decided to structure the deal so that they get a certain percentage return every month. We pay it out to them. And then at the closing, when we settle up, they get even more on top of that. So they get a pretty nice deal. They get paid up front every single month. And then at the end, they get first dibs on the money. So they're in a great position. It's almost like they're a bank. It's almost like they are a bank that has rights to their deal that increase in value as a property increases in value. Banks don't get that deal, but these guys structured their deal so that, yeah, there should be great returns in this property. So yeah, that's what happened. And that's how we set it up. Now, remember I said we only made 75% of the money. Now we have to raise another $500,000. And we don't want to give anybody else that same deal. That's an expensive deal and we're paying for it and we know it, but there's enough room in the deal that we can afford it. But now we've got to go out and raise another $500,000. So we created a third class of membership. And you know who starts that class? The Class A people. Remember I told you that we put 50 grand a piece in? Well, our 50,000 buys Class C memberships. So we, as the as a sweat equity people, the people who put the deal together, we're getting equity from Class A, and then we're also buying into the deal with Class C membership. So we're getting a nice return. I don't know, I think I end up like with 10 or 11% of the deal. That's not bad because of the way that my partner and I structured the deal. So that's how we have put this deal together. Now we're out there selling membership interest to that 50,000, the 500,000 in the Class C structure. And that's how people can get into this deal. So that's the beautiful thing about a limited liability company is you can design it any way you want. So first thing you do is you run the numbers on this property, you make the offer gets accepted, the offer that works for you. Now you know how much you're expected to make in this deal. Now you can go out to your investors and say, hey, I got a deal in a contract, looks fantastic. This is what I'm expecting to return to my investors. Are you interested? Yeah, I'm interested. Where do I give my money? Let me get the document signed first, and then I'll show you how to wire your funds into the escrow agent. You never want to take the money in your own possession. You wire the money into your escrow agent, and the money just sits there and until the deal closes. And then that's how you structured the deal. You put the deal together. It works for you. Now, not every deal you can do it this way. And that's the beauty of a LLC. You just design it the way that that particular deal works. Now, one of the things you can think about is, I always say that LLC, you can get incredibly creative. Maybe the deal only spits off a 7% cash on cash return, and you're like, ooh, boy, all right, well, that's not going to leave much for me. Maybe I'll give the investors all of the cash on cash return, but at the end of the day, they get their money back, but they don't get any of the appreciation. That comes all to me. Does that sound good? Does that sound like it might be an interesting deal? Exactly. You see, that's definitely something that you can do to feather your nest. You can get as incredibly creative as you need to. So there are a million different structures you can do. It all depends upon how the deal pencils out. I've had people come to me and say, okay, this one, I really like this deal. It's good. It's good. Showing about a 6% cash on cash return. But if you look down the road, as we, increase the rents, it's really going to take off. Okay, good. So what are you going to do to convince your investors to come with you? I says, well, I'm going to give them a 10% cash on cash return. How are you going to do that? The property only generates 6. Well, I'm going to tell them that I'm going to give them 10. So every year I'll give them 6, and that 4 gets rolled over into the next year, and then the next year after that, until we're now spitting off more than 10%, and then they get all their money back. Okay, yeah, we could do that. And also, when we sell the property, they get their 10% return first, and then I get my money. Okay, that sounds interesting. That could work. And this is why you want to have that relationship with your investors, to find out what they're looking for. Because if you went to hey, this is how this deal is going to work. We're going to give you a 10% return, but only up front, we can only give you 6. And by the 5th year, we think we'll be able to give you the 10. They're going to look at you like, nah, I'm not interested in that. Because they told you they wanted 8% cash on cash return, ahead of anyone else in a better position, whatever they decided. So you've got to listen to your investors. You got to figure out what they're looking for, and that's how you're going to determine whether you got a deal or not. Because if you get a deal that's like only spitting off 6, and your investor's looking for 10, what do you say? Next. You move on, because you're not going to get anything going with that deal. That deal's dead on arrival. So these are things you have to learn, the different ways that you can structure deals. And my recommendation is, when you hear somebody doing a pitch for their particular deal, sign up, listen to their pitch, get their PPM, get their documents sent to you. So, and folks, don't try to be your own securities attorney. I have professional liability insurance for my law firm. I'm telling you right now that the law firm is, you choose areas of practice, and then your premiums are based upon those areas of practice. The most expensive area of practice, premium-wise, is a securities attorney. They're the ones who are getting sued the most, because that's what the SEC does. They're sitting around trying to get a pelt on their wall. I was once a pelt on someone's wall, and that's how they operate. So keep that in mind. And make sure that you're crossing your T's and you're dotting your I's by hiring competent counsel to solve this problem for you. I mean, when you work with us, and we're doing your transactional law through the acquisition, and you need a securities attorney, we engage crowdfunding lawyers. They step in, do all of that for you. So keep that in mind. I don't want to see you making stupid mistakes like somebody in my partnership did that I didn't even know about and ended up costing me a lot of money. So that's that's how it goes. That's a story. That's a basic structure. We go in depth in this in the class. We spend a whole day practically talking about private money, raising private money, how to do it. One thing I didn't even go into in this class is how to deal with investors, how to speak to investors, how to raise private money, what to say to them, how to keep them on the loop. I mean, what we did in my business early on is what everybody needs to be doing. And that is cultivating your friends and family, cultivating your list, letting them know what you've got going on every step of the way, whether you made an offer, whether you didn't make an offer, whether you got an offer accepted, and whether you flunked the due diligence, or whether you keep your investors going, understanding every step of your journey. And the reason why I say that is on our first deal, when we needed to raise 600,000 was all we needed to raise in that particular deal. We had it raised in 9 days because everyone knew we had been looking. Everyone knew this is what we're going to do. And it was just a nice, smooth, easy process. So that's what we're going to talk about in the class. If you are on my mailing list, you will be receiving information. If you've ever purchased anything from me, if you've been a student of mine over the last 17 years and you're still wondering, like, why couldn't I do it? Now is the best time. Sign up for my new program because I am trying to get as many people across the finish line as possible. We're going to be making offers. We're going to be raising private money, and we're going to be working in a cohort so that, if you think that you don't have the qualifications to do it, don't worry. I've got other people in the program that can help you out as well. So that's it, folks. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and chime them in. Once again, 4:00 today, I have my hotels to home conversion cohort group, and it looks like we're going to be closing on our first deal in the next couple of weeks, which will be awesome. So that's that. That is my pitch, my presentation, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this made a lot of sense to you. And if it didn't make sense to you, don't worry about it. Join us. Come see our class, and you'll really get a lot of value out of it. Let me just kind of give you an idea. See if I can pull it up over here. One thing that we did is it's going to be 6 months. 6 months, 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, we're going to have a live class, and the class goes 2 to 3 hours. It's going to be like a college classroom. Month 1 is going to be building your multifamily business framework. Month 2 is going to be building your multifamily business marketing framework. Month 1 is creating your vision. Then building your multifamily business bank. That's raising private money. Next month is building your multifamily business operations. That's putting all of this together so that you can constantly be running the marketing of your business. And when I say marketing, I don't necessarily mean you're running blog posts, you're putting things up on Twitter or what have you. What I mean by that operations is having that vehicle that is constantly looking for deals for you and constantly looking for money for you. And that's how you're going to build this business. That's how the most successful investors do it. They understand it's a sales and marketing business, and they set up the systems. Okay, everybody, that is it. I will see you next Tuesday. I'm not going to see you next Thursday. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. For those of you, I have no, yes. Okay. So Phil, let me put it, Molly's going to type it into the comment section there. And so basically what we're saying, Phil, is how to get started in the multifamily business in 2025. Starting in January, I think January 10th might be our kickoff. Every 2 weeks, 6 months, homework accountability. You're going to be friends with everybody in the group. You're all going to be working towards the same goal, getting your first deal done. So there's a lot to it. And there's a lot of many moving parts, but that's what we're doing. So we're going to make sure that it works for everybody. Okay, folks, great to see you all. Oh, I don't see Molly putting it in there. Let me just give you this one, this email. Yeah, that should do it. There we go. Info at multifamily. I spelled it wrong. Hold on. Info at multifamilyos.com. There we go. Just send us your name, contact information. I'm going to have Kevin from my office get in touch with you once we are ready to roll this thing out. It's going to be rolled out pretty much early in December. Keep your eyes peeled for it. And like I said before, those people that have been students of mine in the past, I have the greatest group of students, and they come and go. Life changes, their deals change, and people ultimately, that stick with it will get their deals done. I'm here on this new program to get you to stick with it, because I'm going to be there with you every step of the way, along with everyone else in the group. So, all right, everybody, great to see you all, and we will chat later. Good to see you.